Welcome everyone, thanks for being here. We are gonna do a slow or gentle flowing practice, meaning we are gonna work with the whole body and we're gonna do some mobility for the whole body, and we will kind of keep it moving till we get to the end and closer to Shavasana and a few stretches. So it'll be relatively gentle, but that doesn't mean that every pose, everything that I'm gonna do is gonna work for you. So please remember, you can modify, you can adapt the poses, you can rest, you could substitute and do something else entirely. As far as props go, I'm going to use the blanket mostly for padding my knees and my hips when I'm in belly down position. And I will use one of the blocks. You might need to if you're going to offload your wrists and hands. So we're starting on our backs in whatever lower body position is comfortable to you, like straight or bent or knock-kneed or on some props. And then arms wherever it feels comfortable as well. It could be hands making connection to the torso, or arms out with the palms up. Even hands behind the head and elbows out to the sides. Take these first few moments to bring your attention to your breath. And as endurance athletes, you know the importance of the breath, the ability to harness it, to use it to support your movements, supply oxygen, get rid of carbon dioxide. In the yoga practice, the breath supports us as well. It supports and informs our movements. The muscles that help you breathe, or that breathe for you, support your core. And they move in coordination and they work in coordination with our movements. So really becoming in tune with that breathing through the nose so that you begin to slow your breathing down a little bit. And if you can, start to smooth the breath out. So we lengthen it out a bit. Longer inhales and exhales. Keep the ease to the breathing though. Taking this moment here to feel the breath moving in your body and to discern the rhythm of your breath. This lengthened breath is going to give us the rhythm of the practice, the rhythm of our movements. The flow of the practice. And if you come to today's class with your own intention, or if you'd like to dedicate your practice to someone else, please bring this thought to the front of your mind. And if not, let's stay with the breath. Your intention for the practice is to stay with this breath. And if you lose it, pause, rest, return. Take the next few breaths. Just kind of writing that intention here in the front of your brain, the front of your mind. Stay with the breath. And as you're ready, we'll start to move here. I'm gonna bend the knees, feet flat, but then hold on to the back of one thigh and reach the foot up towards the ceiling. So I'm not going into big hamstring stretch here. I'm keeping that knee a little bent, and then circle the ankle of that lifted leg. Keep the shoulders relaxed, so you're just gently holding the back of the thigh, hopefully a little bend to the elbows, and circle that ankle the other way. And we'll switch to the other leg. Might feel different, might be tighter, might be more mobile, might feel more stretch with this. Circle the other way. Mind the shoulders and neck to stay relaxed here. Relaxing that foot, and then pull both knees in towards you, holding the shins or maybe backs of thighs, and just start to gently rock a little bit side to side here. Opening up the joints at the lower back. Maybe feeling a little stretch in the buttocks or the hamstrings if that's an area where you have some tightness or some soreness. You could stay with this, keep it nice and gentle, a little bit of rhythm to it. Or a bigger rotation, arms out, we'll drop the legs over to one side and you'll stretch the top leg out towards that side while push out through the heel. Bend the knees and roll onto your back. We go the other way. We inhale, drop the knees to that side. Option to stretch the top leg out. Exhale, rolling onto your back. So you inhale into the twist, exhale into that little ball in the center of your mat. You could keep the head neutral, or maybe it turns in the opposite direction of your legs, getting a little bit more rotation up in the upper part of your spine. We'll do one more here. And bring this back onto your back, knees bent, feet flat. Line those heels up with your sitting bones here. Start with a gentle low back movement of a backward pelvic tilt. So we flatten the low back, tip the tailbone up, and then we release it. Exhale, flatten that lower back belly button towards spine, tailbone tips up. We inhale, release it. So just noticing that rocking backward of the pelvis, and then that releasing forward of the pelvis. So you could keep it here, that gentle low back motion, especially if you've got tension in your lower back or pain. This might feel good just to stay right here. Or turn this into the flowing bridge, arms down by the sides. You tip the tailbone up like the pelvic tilt, but then we lift the hips, lower back, middle, then the upper back. And then we lower down in reverse order, upper back, middle back, lower back, release the tailbone at the bottom. Let's do that a few more times. So we inhale, roll up to the top of the bridge, and then we exhale, roll it back down. A few more. We'll lower it all the way back down. Hips come down. Walk your feet out a little wider than your hips. Arms could come out, and just gently rock those knees side to side. Because your feet are a little wider, the knees won't be together. And again, maybe head turning opposite of the legs. And eventually we're going to roll on over to one side and press ourselves up here into a seated position. This seat, we have our legs kind of swept off to one side. We're leaning away from the legs on the hand, or come down onto your forearm with this one. The free arm, we're pulling that elbow towards the ceiling and looking in that direction. And then let the hand come back down. So we do that again. We inhale, pull that elbow up, chest gaze towards the ceiling, exhale, lower. A couple more here of this rotation movement. And then we pause from here and swivel the legs around to the other side. So leaning away from the legs here, whatever kind of distance apart for them feels good. Other free hand, we're gonna inhale, pull that elbow up, rotate ribs and gaze towards the ceiling, and exhale, rotate it back down. And just a few more here. So again, for the first time, I should say, that rotation we're doing here is coming from the upper body. We did some twisting before from our back. where the lower body rotated and the upper body was still here. We're getting that rotation from that mid and upper back, the shoulder blade moving on the back ribs, the head turning. All right, we'll come up from here, making our way to hands and knees. Now you might want that extra padding here underneath your knees. Starting in this tabletop pose, knees under hips, wrist under shoulders. Remember, your hand options could be loose fist or on your forearms to take the pressure off the wrist here. As we start to circle the hips, we bring them out towards one side and then towards the heels. And then we bring them over to the other side and forward here again. So we inhale, hips to the side and back. Exhale, the hips other side and forward. And maybe your movement is small depending on how the knees, the hips, or the back feels. Maybe you want a little bit more sensation of openness. You push your push your ribs towards the side. And maybe the hips come closer to the heels. And reverse directions. Pushing the floor away so that you feel a little bit more space between the shoulder blades so that upper back feels broad. All right, bringing this back into that tabletop hands and knees position. And a few cat-cows here. So we round through the back, tuck the chin, tuck the tailbone under. Then we do the opposite. We lift the tailbone, belly towards the floor, chest forward. Back and forth a few times. Exhale, rounding. Push the floor away. Inhale. Spine arches towards the earth, chest forward. You can keep it here at this cat-cow. Or you could add a little forward-backward weight shift. So as you round the back, you could shift your weight forward a couple of inches. As you arch the spine down towards the earth, shift back a couple of inches past neutral. So we exhale, round the back, shift forward. Inhale, arch the back towards the floor, shifting backward. A few more movements. Getting that fluid, flowy movement here within that cat-cow. And eventually we'll pause and come into either a child's or a puppy pose. Child's pose is hips over heels, forehead resting on the floor or stacked hands here. Puppy is hips over heels, child is hips over heels, forehead resting down, which might work for some of you, but if you're dealing with hip or knee issues or herniated disc, lower bone density in the lumbar spine, puppy is a safer bet, so you won't injure yourself doing yoga, which just seems silly to do. Puppy also is nice if you tend to cramp in your toes. You have less a chance of cramping in puppy than you do in child's pose. Take a few more breaths. Remembering that you can rest at any time during the practice. You don't need to wait for me to lead you to this resting position. So you could certainly stay longer in the rest, or when you're ready, coming back here to that hands and knees. And we'll stretch one foot back, toes tucked under a little toe, rocking. So you're pressing the heel back, shifting forward, toes bending. Exhale, press the heel back. Inhale, shift forward, toes bending. A few more as we warm up the ankle, the toes, the calf, that Achilles tendon, before we go into a deeper movement position, switching sides. All right, we'll lower that knee down. So I'm setting myself up for down dog. Can be a challenging pose. Maybe you stay for a little bit, lower the knees and rest. Or maybe you stay with that toe rocking, but here we'll bring hands forward, fingers spread, hips reaching up and back. Now the spine will stay long. Maybe you have a little bend to the knees, head relaxed between the upper arms. And you could do pedaling the feet, which is similar to that toe rocking movement we just did. Or maybe it's lift, heels, and then lower. Maybe you shift this forward to a plank and then back to a down dog. Settle in your down dog here. Looking forward, we're stepping this left foot between the hands. It may not get there, so you can always lower that back knee, left hand helping this foot come into that forward position. I'm gonna bring the blocks here on either side of my front foot. Heels line up closer to the heel than the toes, and you might slide that back knee back a bit. Shifting the hips back. Start to rock back on that front heel. And so we get a little passive stretch here through the hamstring. Now in active engagement, you're gonna dig this front heel into the floor to pull the hips forward, opening the chest. So we exhale, shift the hips back, a little stretch. Inhale, dig the heel in to contract the hamstring. Do a couple more here. We'll come forward here on the next one and pause. And we'll bring both hands down to the floor. Step this into a plank position. Lower both knees. Your core stays engaged as you lower down to the floor. Elbows point towards your feet. And then a little low cobra. Now our elbows point towards the back pockets and lift the head and chest. Neck is long. You could stay low or raise up a little higher, a bigger back bend, but don't force the spine or too much pressure on the wrist. Tuck the toes, use your abs to push your hips up and back into down dog. Maybe you go through tabletop first. Take another moment in your down dog and move around a little bit. Maybe what you're doing before or something a little different. Another couple breaths. And then settle in the down dog, looking forward, right foot between the hands, helping it there. There's no rush, you know where we're going. The back knee will lower, blocks here on either side of that front foot, but you could be up on tented fingers if that works for you. We're shifting our hips back, so front toes come up. I'm keeping at least a slight bend in the knee so I don't strain my hamstring tendon. And then I dig that front heel in, and the hamstrings actually pull me forward. Exhale to shift back, dig the front heel in, inhale, pulling forward. And we'll do one more of that hamstring open and engage. Those two sides of the coin. Bring it forward here. We're stepping the back foot to the front foot, finding a forward fold. You can even keep those blocks in your hands there, bringing the floor up to you in your forward fold. You could have a little bend in your knees and upper body draped over lower body here, that ragdoll version. Or the one protective of your spine if you've got that herniated disc or lower bone density. Here it's feet wide, butt back forms on your thighs, spine long. Either pose, any of those poses, you could sway a little bit, side to side, forward, back. Maybe you shake that head out, releasing tension around the neck, shoulders, face, jaw. We'll bend the knees a little more. Strong legs. Inhale, rise up to stand. You could reach both arms up. And then exhale, hands to prayer at your heart. We'll let this go. Shake out your wrists, roll the shoulders, moving that blanket or your padding out of the way if you had it. And we are going to do what in the shorthand when I write out my practice, is called I call it the top part of the sun salutation. So we don't go in the down dog, we don't even get our hands on the floor, but a way to continue warming up the body and connect the breath and movement. So we start with our feet shoulder distance or a little wider apart if that feels comfortable. On your inhale, reach both arms up, get taller. On your exhale, we sit back. So you bend the knees, hands come to the thighs. I'm going to turn so you can see my profile here. On your inhale, press your arms into legs so you find more length in the spine. Staying on the exhale, shoulders away from the ears. Strong legs. Inhale, rise up to stand, reaching up. Exhale, hands to prayer. Let's do that again. So inhale, reach out, reach up, spread your fingers, take up space. Exhale, sit back, hands on the knees. Inhale, lengthen the spine, pressing through the hands. Exhale, relax the shoulders. Strong legs, inhale, rise up to stand, reaching up. And exhale, hands to prayer. Let it go, shake it out. That's a nice warm-up that you could do anywhere. So you could even do that before getting in the boat, before getting on the erg, to warm that body up and get some joint mobility happening through the whole body. So come on up to the front of the mat if you aren't there, and I'll have you take a big step back with that left foot for warrior one. You can always shorten the stance here if this feels more stable to you. Back foot is turned out to 10 o'clock, and I've left space between my feet. So I'm not in this tightrope of warrior two, right? Hips square to the front, front knee bent, tailbone down towards the earth, top of the head up towards the sky. So we created space between the vertebrae. We'll bring the hands behind the head, interlacing fingers. Lower body, feet to ribs, stays pretty stable. Upper body is sort of cat-cow motion. So we inhale, push the elbows back, lift the breastbone, bring the gaze up. And then we exhale, elbows forward and drop the chin. I'm gonna do a few more. So we inhale, open up. Exhale, bring it forward, drop the chin. So we're not pushing downward with the hands, right? So they're just kind of going along for the ride as we bring the elbows forward. Your next inhale, lift the head so that spine is long. Release the hands, you could bring them to your hips. Now I'm gonna hinge forward from my hips so my torso comes in line with that back leg. It's like an arrow pose, so straight line from the heel to the top of the head. Firm the belly so your core, your abs support the spine. A slight chin tuck here. You could leave the hands on the hips or reach them forward into this kind of Superman position. And we're pulling the elbows back and down, shoulder blades firm on the back ribs, and then we reach the arms forward again in Superman. So we exhale, pull back and down, neck feels long. Inhale, reach forward into Superman. Go a couple more. Next time you reach forward with the arms, lift the torso, come all the way up into that warrior one. And then we bring both hands down around your front foot. Pit the back heel up, and you might even have to slide that foot back to come into this low lunge position. And we'll step this into a plank. So we've been here before. You could skip the lowering and go directly to down dog, or even lower your knees. Find child's or puppy, or lower to the ground. Knees down or up, toes are untucked as you lower all the way down. Elbows toward your back pockets. Peel the head and chest up off the floor, low cobra, or press higher. No reason to force the spine. Tuck your toes. Use your abs or lower abs to push your hips up and back. Maybe you go through that tabletop to get there. Finding the down dog. Shake the head, relax the muscles of your face. Now we're gonna make our way to the front of the mat. So I want you to bend your knees and look forward. You could step, take as many steps as you need to get to the front of the mat, or hop to the front of the mat. Bend the knees a little bit more. Strong legs, inhale, rise up. You could reach up. And exhale, hands to prayer at your heart. Nice, let it go. Shake those wrists, roll the shoulders. We're gonna do those standing poses here on the other side. So it'll be that right foot back into the warrior one. Back toes are turned out here to 2 o'clock-ish. Front knee bent. Tailbone towards the earth, top of the head towards the sky. We're interlacing the fingers behind the head, elbows point out to the sides to start. Now remember, feet to lower ribs stay pretty much in the same position. Tailbone stays lengthened towards the earth. And then we open up, elbows back, breastbone up, gaze just slightly higher on the wall. And then exhale, elbows forward, drop the chin. Don't push down with the hands though. We inhale, open up. Exhale, elbows forward, drop the chin. Couple more. Inhale, lifting that head up, hands to the hips. We find the length in the spine, hinging forward here. Pause when the torso is in line with the back leg. From the belly, slight chin tuck. You could stay hands on the hips, especially if shoulders aren't happy, or reach them forward in the Superman pose. And we exhale, pull the elbows down, shoulder blades firming on the back ribs. Inhale, reach up forward. I'm gonna do 3 more of those movements, that connecting the breath and movement. Reach forward into the Superman and lift the torso into upright. And then we exhale, hands come down around that front foot, back heel pivots up. Maybe you wiggle it or hop it towards the back of the mat a little bit more. And we're stepping this back into plank. Now you could go directly to down dog, skipping this part, lower your knees and rest. Or lower down, knees down or up. Now, if you go all the way, you can go into cobra. If you go halfway, ribs to elbows, untuck the toes, you can open into up dog, which is like cobra, but hips and knees off the ground, neck long. Tuck your toes, use your abs to push your hips up and back, finding that down dog with a long spine, even if that means bending your knees a little bit to get there. We're gonna rest, lower both knees, untuck your toes, find that child's or puppy pose, or find another resting position, maybe it's sitting or lying down. Take a moment to return to that breath, that one we started with. Lengthen it out, slow it down. Remembering our intention of staying with the breath. Staying with the breath is really what makes this movement practice a mindfulness practice. That rhythm of the breath, and you as athletes in the boat, know a lot about rhythm, staying focused on that rhythm and the mindfulness that that takes. You could stay here longer, resting for more. Or if you're ready to move on, we're gonna make our way up. So you could get to standing however you'd like, or you could come into that down dog. Bend the knees, look forward, step or hop your feet to the front of the mat. Bend the knees a little, strong legs. Inhale, rise up to stand, reaching up, and exhale, hands to prayer. We let that go, shake your wrist, roll your shoulders. We're gonna do a little balance work here, and this one's dynamic. So we're flowing with this as opposed to trying to hold something statically. So I'll have you stand with your feet shoulder distance or slightly wider. So we're not gonna go in the big wide goddess pose here because that makes it too hard to balance. But we'll have our toes turned out so they're pointing towards the corners of the mat, and come into a little knee bend, not a deep squat here. Find your focus here, tailbone down, top of the head up, gaze focused on a non-moving spot, coming into this cactus arm position, shoulders relaxed. Now, we're gonna keep it a little easier to start. So I'm gonna have you shift your weight towards one side and come up on the tiptoe of the other foot, arms stretch out. And then we lower it back down into that goddess squat. We go the other way. Shift your weight towards it, tiptoe of the other leg, arms reach out, and then we exhale into that squat. So we're just shifting on the inhale, settling, grounding, centering on the exhale, right? So you can keep that where you always have both feet down. One of them's in tiptoe. Or a little more challenge, you lift the foot and gentle land. So we inhale, reach, maybe a little lift off, exhale, gentle land, right? So we're not clomping down. No one should be able to hear our foot land. We have so much control. Let's do one more to each side. You got it. Whew. Okay, good. Come down. Swing those arms. Roll the shoulders. Shake your legs out. Nice work. So we're going to do a little bit before we get all the way down to the floor. So I'll offer a squat position. Now, I'm going to, eventually I will be in a deep squat. You may not be there. Okay, so listen for some options as we go, especially if you have any knee, ankle issues. One option here would be to have a little folded blanket under your heels. So especially if the ankles or the calves kind of pop up off the floor as you come into squat, you would place your feet on the elevation of that blanket. And I've got my feet like yoga mat distance apart, my toes are turned out, but I almost always have to adjust here once I come down. So here's the first option that's not a deep knee bend. So we sit the hips back, forearms on the thighs. So spine is long, there's no rounding through the lower back. You know, I am working my quads here, but I'm not in that deep knee bend, nor my ankles feeling that stretch. But if you'd like to come into or try, you can lower the hips down here in between your ankles. Now, if you have the heels elevated, maybe you rotate the feet so they're out a little bit more. You could press your elbows into the inner knees, hands in prayer, spine is long. You can see how it feels with or without the blanket. You could always move it out of the way. Take a few more breaths. Remember, if your knees don't like this, don't force it. I'm going to bring my hands to the floor, lift my butt, and walk the feet back to find that down dog. Take a breath. Long spine. Lower the knees. And let's come into a seated position. We're going to come into that side swept position here of the legs. And again, we're leaning away from the legs, maybe on the forearm here, and I'll give you that option. We're coming into a quad stretch, so this leg furthest away from us, pulling that heel towards the butt with that free hand. Start here. See how this feels. Knee pain, sometimes you need to come a little further away or find a different variation of the quad stretch. For more sensation, you could slide that thigh back. Maybe you come down onto that forearm here is also going to give you a little bit more sensation of stretch in the quads. But this one, a lot of stretches are this way, meaning the variation in our bodies, the history of our bodies, the length of our femurs, the length of our waist, length of the shoulder position itself can make this more challenging for you. So a different variation might work better, or using a strap here might work better for you. Or sometimes quad stretching when you're really tight or have knee issues isn't the best idea. And the self-massage foam rolling stick, Theragun, might be better than quad stretching. So we're gonna let that go and switch to the other side. So leaning away from the legs, pulling that heel towards the butt. Make sure it's not heel higher than the butt, straight to the center of the butt. You could stay here, you could slide that thigh back, you could add that lean away. Find that breath again. One or two more breaths here. And we'll let that foot go. Now we are making our way onto our bellies and getting ready to do some prone or belly down back bends. If you have some arthritis in your lower back, these may not be the best poses for you to do. You could always substitute bridge pose instead. You could put a small pillow under the low belly, so you start from a slightly flexed position, and when you lift, you come to neutral instead of the back bend part. So you've got some options for this. We're coming into that belly down position. I'm using my blanket here to pad the pubic bone. So we'll bring the arms out to the sides here in a T position, palms facing down. Now, we want to prep the core so we protect the low back. So you're lengthening the tailbone towards your feet. Feel the low belly engage, pubic bone press into the floor. Keep that the whole time and lift the head and chest and the arms. Instead of squeezing the shoulder blades together, make your arms go wider. And then lower back down. So tailbone towards feet, inhale, lift, arms come up. Reach the hands out wider. Maybe you add raising the legs, and then we exhale, lower. Let's do a couple more. We inhale, lift, reach out wider through the arms, neck long, exhale, lower. One more. Exhale, lower. You could bring your head forward, resting the hand, bring your arms forward so you can rest your head on the hands. Take a moment. Wiggling those hips a little bit. So I'm going to do a second set of these locust poses here. Again, I'm moving with the breath, so I'm flowing with this one. And I'm going to do like a sweeping motion of the arms. So they'll be sweeping forward and sweeping back. Same prep, tailbone towards the feet. And let's start with the arms down by the sides. Tailbone towards the feet. Inhale, lift the head, chest, lift the arms, make them longer. Option to raise the legs. And we inhale, sweep our arms forward. Exhale, sweep them back. Make your arms as long as possible. So we inhale, sweep out and forward. Exhale, sweep out and back. I'm going to do a couple more here. Make your arms long, spread them forward, spread them out, spread them down, and then lower the head, resting. You could bend the knees and rock both legs side to side, that little windshield wiper motion. And we'll lower both feet down to the floor. And taking your time, coming back up here into hands and knees position. And then from here, we're crossing one leg over to the opposite side, toes tucked, And I want you to peek around that shoulder, or maybe just in that direction. You have to go all the way around to look towards the foot and just do a little toe rocking movement here. And we lower that knee and switch sides. Maybe peeking around the shoulder, just in that direction towards the foot, and that little toe rocking movement, similar to what we did at the beginning of the practice. Lower that knee back down, and then make your way onto your back. And you might move that blanket out of the way. In fact, keep the blanket close. We're going to do a little bit here with the core. I'm using that blanket as a little bit of feedback here. So we are going to lift the feet so the shins are parallel to the floor. And I'm going to place that folded blanket here on my shins. So I'm kind of balancing the blanket on my shins. So this is already core work, hip strength here. But to add in a little bit, think about pressing your back ribs into the floor. Don't think about it, just do it. Press your back ribs into the floor without lifting the head so that you feel the muscles in your waist engaging. And I'm going to make a small little movement with the legs. So we inhale, move the legs away from you just a couple of inches, and then exhale, pull them back so the knees are over the hips, not all the way in. So we inhale, small little movement, legs move away, exhale, pull the knees back over the hips. So just that little bit of movement, keep going, moving with the breath is making my core work really hard. Sometimes when my core is to work really hard, I feel my neck muscles engaging and trying to help out. So to get them to be quiet, quiet down, I'm gonna bring my hands behind my head, elbows out to the sides. And then my core is doing the work, less with my neck. Now my hip flexors are working here a little bit too, so keep that in mind. I'm doing a couple more. All right, pull the legs all the way in. You could take that blanket off. Might feel good to come into that little side to side rock. Or maybe you circle the hips and knees. I'm gonna have you come into a supported bridge. I'm using my block for this, but it could be a folded up blanket, a foam roller, but something to elevate the hips. So I'm placing that prop underneath the sacrum. So it's below the low back, but above the fleshy part of the buttocks here. And then relaxing all those muscles that got you there. So relax the glutes, relax the low back, relax the core. This is a restorative pose. This is a supported pose, meaning you don't have to do anything or engage anything to be in this position. Take a few breaths, allowing your body to recognize that it's able to relax here. And sometimes when you do, you might begin to feel this creation of space between the vertebrae in the lower back. So we are creating this kind of position of traction for the lumbar spine. You could stay here because that could feel really good to the lower back. Or pull the knees in towards you and reach the feet up towards the ceiling. So we're in this mild inversion. So notice I'm keeping a slight bend in my knees just so that I can keep my quads and the hip flexors relaxed. You might even kind of reach up and see if they're feeling relaxed there, if they're engaged. And then we circle the ankles. So similar to what we did at the beginning of the practice here. And circle them the other way. And then in any other movements of the legs you'd like, you could pull one knee in, push the other foot up, and switch sides, a little kind of stepping type of movement. or legs come into straddle, and then we cross them over like scissors. Right, just getting some movements happening in the lower body, gentle, easy, nothing super challenging. And then when you're ready, pull the knees in towards you. Gently hold on to one as you stretch the other leg out to come into this hip flexor stretch. So that leg stretching out, the heel is touching the ground, even if it means that knee is a little bent. So you start to feel some openness here in the front of the hip and thigh. I had one of my clients do this today, and he said, boy, I feel that all the way down to my knee, which means that he had some tension in the hip flexors that also are knee joint muscles. One of them is one of your four quadriceps. The other one's a separate one. Relax the shoulders, the jaw, the face. Switch sides. And it might be different on this side. Make any adjustments you need to here. Remind the shoulders, the neck, the jaw to all relax. And we'll let both feet come down to the floor. And lift your hips and take that prop out from underneath. Lowering the hips back down. Gently hugging the knees in towards you. And then I'll have you cross one thigh over the other. Pull the legs in, holding shins, ankles, or backs of thighs. And we're looking for an openness or stretch on the buttocks of that top leg, but if it feels pinchy on the front of the hip, change it to the ankle over knee instead. And again, arms are here holding the stretch, but you don't need to engage the neck, face muscles. It's just the grip, really, maybe little biceps working. We'll unwind the legs, reach them out wide, and switch the cross, other thigh on top. Relax the shoulders, the neck, the jaw muscles. Untangle your legs, reach the feet out wide again, and we'll come into a happy baby. The relaxed version, you hold the backs of thighs, pull the knees towards the armpits, or knees bent, hold ankles or soles of feet. That's a little bit more stretchy, but there's no reason to make this super intense. And gently rock a little. Keep holding on to that left leg and stretch the right leg out along the floor. Pull that left knee in towards center with the opposite hand and pull it all the way over. So we're coming into the spinal twist. That left knee might come to the floor. I can force mine, but it doesn't feel great. So I'm going to put a block underneath my knee so that I have something to rest into. Arms come out, head gently turning away from the legs. Opening up through the outer hip, outer hamstring a little bit. Obliques, which might be tight. Pull both knees in towards you, rolling onto your back, and find that happy baby again. Maybe that relaxed version. Rock a little bit side to side. This time keep holding onto the right leg and stretch the left leg out long on the mat. Left hand pulls that right knee all the way over, as far over as you want to go, maybe using a prop underneath the knees. Arms out, or underneath that one knee, arms out to the sides. And gently turn away from your legs. Is there anything you can let go of here? Is there a part of your body that's still digging in or really working for something? Can you imagine not having to work or hustle or to dig in or to endure? But to just be, so that your body can open, can lengthen, can rest. Bend both knees and roll onto your back. Decide if there's something you'd like to do here before Shavasana, more happy baby, different stretches, a bigger inversion for you. And then also thinking about how you'd like to set yourself up for Shavasana, using a wall or a chair to elevate the legs. Any other props under the legs, under the spine, behind the neck. I'm going to come into the legs up the wall position. As a lot of you know, one of my favorite Shavasana poses. But wherever you've settled into, take a moment to get a little more comfortable, right? Sometimes that's adding a blanket underneath or on top. It's repositioning the hips or the shoulder blades. Covering your eyes with a eye pillow or just a towel or shirt you might have nearby. Take an inhale through the nose. Open the mouth, letting out a sigh. You could do that again. Let the breath go. Allow yourself to rest. This is your opportunity to do nothing. In a world that wants us to be productive, to do more, this is when we give ourselves the permission to just be and to rest, to allow gravity to take over and the earth to support us for the next few minutes. You could stay here longer, resting more, or if you're ready to return to your day, you can start to deepen the breath. Wiggle the fingers, the toes, the wrists, the ankles. A bigger stretch or movement would be to inhale, reach your arms overhead. Exhale, let it go. Bend the knees, roll to your side, and pause here for a moment on your side. Taking a few more deep breaths and beginning to feel some appreciation for your body, your breath, your health, and your yoga practice. Press yourself up to a seated position. Thank you all for being here, sharing your practice, your energy from all over the world. The light in me honors the light in each of you. Namaste.